Hey, this is Sharman, your friendly neighborhood Footy Prime host. The FIFA Club World Cup is upon us. Starting June 14th, you can binge the entire tournament with our friends at DAZN. Not only will every game be streamed, but every game will be streamed for free. An easy email sign-up gives you access to watch Real Madrid, Man City, Bayern, Juventus, just to name a few. 63 matches, 29 days to crown the FIFA Club World Champion. So get in. Sign up for free at DAZN.com. Well, here we are. We promised you special mini pods, and you know how we are, everyone. They may not be many. They may grow and evolve, but it's a brand new tournament, and really we don't know what to expect. It's a Club World Cup kicking off Saturday. It's the World Cup format. It's 8 groups of 4 teams. Top 2 go through. We're all familiar with this. I don't know how I'm supposed to think about this right now. Amy Walsh is here, and so is Dan Wong, and there's Craig Forrest. I'm James Sharman. Dubs, how are we supposed to think about this tournament? It's so new and shiny, but there's so much noise around it as well.
There is. There's noise for the good and for the bad, and as much as I think that the big talking point has been maybe the low interest that it's generating in the US, where it's going to be, but is the players' welfare, how much load and how many fixtures these players are playing, and that it's untenable. And you're adding another tournament, but the almighty dollar is there, and the bottom line is there. So the clubs push for it, and FIFA pushes for it, and that's why we're having this tournament. But I think if you look at the squads that these teams have put together, you look at this little porthole of a transfer window, and Trent Alexander-Arnold going over for and getting Liverpool making it tidy bit of business for it as well, for that little window that goes back to them. They're able to kind of pad their coffers and go out and get players of their own. Like, it's the business keeps going, but they've put together really strong squads. And if you talk to the players, I think the players are really up for this as well. They're curious about it. They're going to face teams that they've never faced before, in an environment that they've never been in before. So I think it's the curiosity, it's the payday that's there potentially, but it's also an occasion to face teams in arenas, in a realm that they've never been before. And as a player, that's exciting. So I think internally, I think there might be more buzz than there actually is on the outside.
And then to play devil's advocate a little bit about the load is that whenever these clubs get a gap anywhere, they go off around the world and they fill their pockets with friendlies, whether that's in the United States or Asia or Australia or wherever. So there's still money, a lot of money in this. And then just looking at the groups from that standpoint, from just a sporting standpoint, it's actually really cool. It's really cool. Like, what are the chances of some of these teams ever playing each other? Most people have never heard of these teams. I haven't heard of some of them. I had to look deep into them, but pretty cool. Looking up Egyptian football. I know a little bit about South African football, Tunisian football, South Korean football. It's absolutely brilliant. And then you got your big guns, obviously, from Europe and South America, Botafogo, Fluminense, then Sundowns, Mamelodi Sundowns from South Africa, which is really cool.
I think for me, it's the mid teams, these teams that will be vying for, some respect. I think that's what's so exciting for me. If I'm looking at this so I'm like a Porto. Yeah, they've been, they always make they make the Champions League, right? But then they're out. Benfica come like 12th, and then they're out. And I think these are the teams that may surprise people, and even an MLS team, maybe. Right?
Everybody knows sort of in football world where Portugal stands, and unfortunately for them, they haven't got the big money TV contracts like they do in England and other parts of Europe. So they have developed players at an incredible rate, always produce, always compete, but maybe not always win. I think the last time Porto won was with Mourinho back in the early 2000s, right?
Yeah.
But
yeah,
always great footballing players, and Benfica develop, Sporting develop players.
Craig's going back into the old romantic historical. Oh, back in the 2000s when Porto won.
Yeah. But how is somebody like Auckland? How are they going to do against Boca Juniors?
Not well.
Benfica and Barcelona.
Oof. Yeah. So Wong, you talk about the mid teams, the Benficas, the Portos, etc. I don't care about them. I watch them every year in the Champions League or the Europa League. Right. What I'm just fascinated by are the teams we think are going to be the also-rans. Now, Auckland aside, we'll get to them later because it's an amazing story. But it's, to me, the Middle Eastern teams, the Egyptian teams, really interest me because I don't know what they are. And I'm not going to sit here and pretend I do. It used to be, you watch World Cups, and before the internet, some of our listeners and viewers might remember the days before the internet when you relied on the newspaper for your sports, and wasn't even sports radio back in those days, or 24-hour sports stations at times. So you'd be introduced to these players you may have heard of in the magazines and papers, but you saw them for the first time. Oh my God, this is Brazil. Wow, this is AC Milan. Teams that you just never saw. Now it's so hard to find these teams. Well, I'll tell you what, it's difficult to catch an Egyptian Premier League game over here. I think. Not that I've tried. I'm assuming. So I find those teams interesting. And especially the Saudi teams who all that money poured into that league. Just how good are they? I don't think they're going to be very good. I think it's going to be Europe dominating this tournament. Although, Dubs, you mentioned it, the load on these players. If any players are going to be tired, it's going to be the European-based teams. And that might even the gap a little bit there.
Yes, for sure. It might be like the microcosm that we see like in the Leagues Cup in MLS, if we're talking about North American football. And then you think that they are always up against it because they're playing Liga MX teams that are in full form or in off season, or vice versa, talking about the CONCACAF Champions Cup, right? There's always a team or a league that has a leg up based on where they are in the cycle of training and periodization and all of that. But it'll be so interesting, and not to dismiss your question, but to understand and to see this clash of styles, different philosophies, these leagues that we don't know about, the soccer world, as with everything, like the advent of the internet, and you're talking about your radio that probably had a crank on it, Sharms, because you're that old.
It's a wireless.
Right.
It's called a wireless because there's no wire.
I see. Yeah.
There must be no wire, though.
Maybe.
No wireless. Wouldn't it be?
No, but you're right, Dubs, especially like the teams from, like Egypt and Al Ahly are the most successful African country as far as international tournaments go, and domestically as well. How are they going to fare in something like this? It's fascinating.
Yeah. And then it's also highly incentivized, right? So players motivated to perform, to play. You have that manufactured tournament atmosphere, which is that instant accelerator for good play, and almost like hopefully there's like a rabid fan base around it, but the players don't need that extra little push. But it's knowing, and it was always the cool thing too, like in Canada with the Northern Super League, our first domestic pro league for women, is you don't yet know who the stars are going to be that are going to emerge. And so for the unknown quantities in, whether it's teams from Egypt or Africa or the Middle East that I'm less familiar with because I'm biased in what I watch, you have to be selective because you can only consume so much football. That world is smaller, and yet there are players that you don't yet know. There are players who are going to emerge that are going to surprise, and they'll be the Cinderella story of the tournament. And then, like I'm reading about this tournament, and like there's a player who is an engineer. There's an international futsal player. Like I don't even know about Franco Mastetuono, who's supposedly the next Messi, River Plate's teenage sensation. Well, I do now because I've done some reading about 10 minutes ago.
So do I now that you mentioned it.
But then you'll get to see it's the narratives, it's the backgrounds, but it's how is it all going to come to life on the pitch? And that's the coolest thing. And that's the anticipation that I'm looking forward to, no matter how or like where your stance is on this Club World Cup.
Yeah. And I think for the casual fan, you have to remember that the best Brazilians, the best players from Argentina, the best players from Chile, they're all playing in Europe. They're all playing in many of these teams.
Point, Forrest.
Right? It's kind of like in Edmonton against Florida. Well, I mean, Florida's got a stack full of Canadian players, right? So this is what's going on. So
the Club World Stanley Cup. Is that what we're talking about?
Hey, that's been pretty great.
They're just the players are all over the place. I would say that most of the Egyptian players that are playing for Al Ahly are probably Egyptian. I don't probably think there's a lot of internationals that are going there, but they probably have a couple spots.
Shall we find out, Craig? So looking at Al Ahly, they have a Tunisian player, a Moroccan player. There, Mali. Alio Dieng is Mali, but he hasn't got a number according to Wikipedia, so he may not be there. But you're right; they're all Egyptian.
Yeah, and that's fascinating for a lot of these players. Seattle's got some international.
A striker from Palestine, actually.
Wow,
Wessam Abu Ali.
Mm-hmm.
It's also the platform for all these players, right? Sorry, Sharms, just quickly, is that the extrinsic motivation is there. We know that in that purse, but the intrinsic motivation to go out there and to put in one good game, one incredible shift, and you catch the eye of one of these big clubs. And it could be the big ticket for one of these players and one of these smaller teams.
Yeah, it will be, because it happens all the time.
Every World Cup, Craig, there's one or two players get a massive move, and it turns out that they're just shite.
Here's a challenging question. Only because there's been so much negativity around this tournament. Who doesn't want this tournament to succeed? Who would be because right now we've been praising it as an opportunity, because I think it's an opportunity. But who's against this other than, would it be the players because it's too much? Would it be other leagues or other sports leagues because it's taking time from it's taking some headlines from them? Who wants?
I think it might be domestic associations, because this is almost an extension of the Super League.
Right,
it's that next step, and I think part of the conversation they've done. I know it's not UEFA, it's FIFA doing this, but this is guaranteeing so much money for these clubs that maybe they'll have their head turned from the Super League, beast in the corner there. Oh, that one there, which isn't going away. It's going to come back again at some point. $1 billion, Craig. It's been
serious money.
$1 billion. The winner gets 125 million. This is US. 125 million thereabouts. So now the European teams get more than, even if the Kiwis win this thing, I don't know what they'll make, but it won't be the close as some of the European teams, which is wrong, I think. But it's what those teams bring to the tournament. Hopefully.
Can you imagine how competitive the league in New Zealand is going to be if you can dabble into at least $10 million?
Nope.
I'm not sure it's a good thing. They're going to go into debt trying to get it. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. But there's a lot of money there.
It's a good point, though, in that some of these smaller clubs, they'll do well. They get lots of money, and then they'll be able to dominate their leagues even more. And will it end up, tearing the various leagues around the world even further, where you have the haves and have-nots? Because if some teams pulling in 10 million, say 10 million, some of these smaller leagues, that's massive money for them.
Right. Yeah. And it's worth putting a little bit of bad water in somebody's salad before they play in the final.
Stick your finger up your bum and then put it in their drink.
There might be some Mexican chefs and waiters hired freelancing.
Yeah.
Freelancing.
$15 million. Because they got $5 million for winning the actual championship, as well as the 10 million to enter. It was $15 million. I tell you what, I'd be dabbling in the salad.
I was going to say, don't put ice cubes in your water, but ice is tough word to use right now, given that the US authorities are more than happy to throw ice at the stadiums, checking papers. So much for the traveling circus and what it is to follow your team internationally, which is what football's all about. Not in the States.
Could you imagine? You would literally have to be hanging around with your papers. You'd have to have your passport ready, everything. Identification, driver's license. Make sure you have 3 or 4 pieces of ID. That's going to turn people off.
Of course, it's the type of thing that you would deliberately leave in your hotel room in your safe and not go out in public with, right? For fear of losing it. And then you have to have it on you now because ICE is going to be around these stadiums, which is a gong show. But I want to go back to the incentivize good performances and winners and how this prize pot's going to be split. It's uneven distribution. So European clubs are going to earn more than teams taking part from other continents. And it should be noted that US is hosting, and Major League Soccer players and their union are embroiled currently in a little bit of a fight with MLS regarding bonuses for the tournament. So it's going to be, I think the Seattle Sounders are the first team from MLS who are going to be competing match day 1. So interesting to see where all that ends up.
Yeah, you're right. And a lot of people, you have to remember that this is a version of this has been around for an awful long time, just not the size and the magnitude of it, right?
Right.
I think a fight over bonuses makes it feel even more authentic and real, though. Every World Cup, there's some team.
It's Thunderdome, Sharms.
Yeah, exactly.
It's football Thunderdome. Two teams enter, one team leads.
Yeah.
It's
but there will be an element, I think, guys, as some of the clubs will be using it as a preseason, and there'll be probably a lot of changes in the squads, against certain teams where it might, not disrespect them, but certainly if somebody like Barcelona is playing Auckland, they might play their other players.
Mm-hmm. And that might be the future of football, enormous squads. The only way you can really play so many games and keep the players fresh is to have bigger squads, allow more subs. Maybe that's the solution.
That's
I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which means more money as well.
Right. And the first step towards that was the permanent concussion substitutions, right? Which took a long time, I think, to approve, but now that's in there. I don't think that's enough. But yeah, additional substitutions beyond that, I think, is probably a step in the right direction. And as you say, like balloon squads or expanding those squads so that you can make allowances for players who have dealt with an enormous amount of fixtures during their own club season.
I never used to like a lot of substitutions.
You know who didn't?
When you're losing, let's say, I'll give you an example. When you're losing 5-0 at Old Trafford and they bring on 3 of the fastest players in the league, I don't need to see 5 or 6 of the fastest players. You know what I mean?
Of course.
Yeah, only for the battering standpoint, but no, from the health standpoint.
And it's also something that increases the gap between the have and the have-nots.
Yes,
because you go from a massive team, they have incredible depth. A player who's 15 or 16 on that roster would be a starter on a smaller team, right? Or even be their star player.
Yeah.
So that just widens that gap considerably.
Yeah. Yeah, you walk by the bench and you're like, oh boy, they would play for just about any other country in the world.
Wasn't it Sean Dyche was warning about that a couple of years ago now with the subs and the Prem? He goes, it's not fair. You can't do this because we can't afford to have 5 world-class subs. We've barely got 11 half-decent footballers. At Burnley at the
It's
time.
the have and have nots. Let's get it right. There's we're talking about immense wealth, some of these clubs, and some of the other ones have a budget.
Right.
I'm just looking here. There are some cool innovations and rules being experimented at the Club World Cup.
I like this point.
The referee's going to be wearing a body camera, which is pretty cool. I hope they use it a lot. I really do. That's pretty cool. I wish it was mic'd as well. Hear what the players are saying. That'd be great.
It will be. It'll be Dubs is taking doing her photo shoot and going to take a pee with her microphone on.
For the documentary.
That's right. It'll be her naked gun moment.
That was the door closing, I swear.
Yeah, exactly. What was that? The referee comes back. He's all embarrassed. Everyone's doing the wave for him.
How's the prostate? Not great, apparently. There's advanced semi-automated offsides. Tablets for quicker communication. I'm just looking here on Google. There's an 8-second rule for the goalkeeper.
Right. Which we've seen called an NSL.
Mm-hmm. And then they give a corner.
Right, yes. Is it a corner, is it?
Yeah, a corner instead of an indirect free kick.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was also my rule. That's my rule for lovemaking.
The 8-second rule. If you're still there, I've won.
8 seconds?
Yeah.
That's right.
Or the corner.
No body cams, please.
That's a great segue to the next rule. A double touch penalty kick.
The what?
Right.
Double touch penalty kick. Dubs.
Oh, it doesn't matter.
Yep. Remember seeing that?
Because those weird ones where the player might slip a little bit.
So it doesn't matter as long whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's a good idea. They did that in golf, the double touch.
Yeah, I like that.
It used to be pretty harsh.
Yeah.
It goes well with the 8-second rule. Touchline interference. What is touchline interference?
Pardon me?
Not again. Touchline interference.
Explain that.
What this one is.
No.
I can't.
That's with your wireless radio.
Oh, by the way, I looked it up. The wireless, it's called that because obviously there was a wire because you plugged it into the wall, but it was the first transmission without the use of wires. Hence the name wireless, which makes so much sense now. It's so obvious.
Yes.
At the time, I was very confused. Only the captain can communicate directives to the referee. We'll see about
rugby. You're rugby.
It's brilliant, but I don't believe that's going to work in soccer.
When you read it though, were you proud of it, saying, "Hey, my rugby moved into kind of the football approach"?
Pioneers, Wonger.
Yeah,
really.
Pioneers.
With the body camera, they're not mic'd yet, but that would be something that happens. They should be mic'd. Yes. I mean, and part of that reason is it'll show it. Which I think the respect for referees will come back because everybody knows this is being recorded, and in rugby they show great respect to the referees. Why can't we do it in football?
Mm-hmm.
Because footballers are scumbags. That's generally the reason.
Watch the Club World Cup only on DAZN.
Well, you know what? Yeah, rugby players are generally, educated, and there's a lot of uneducated football players.
Traditionally speaking, well, because traditionally rugby wasn't professional, right? So you had to have a career. And you watch, I remember watching England play. There'd be an RAF pilot. There'd be a policeman.
Yeah,
there'd be
right.
I think.
Right? In my dressing room, you got guys from Scotland who hate the English. You got Northern Ireland, they hate the Protestants and the Catholics. They got their thing going on. I'm 16 years of age, and this is my dressing room. What the
so different, right? Okay, listen. 20 minutes in, so much for our little mini pod.
Wow. I want to do some housekeeping before, just so everyone knows. Group stage, June 14th to 26th. So first match is tomorrow. Or Saturday, June 14th. Round of 16, June 28th to July 1st. Quarterfinals, July 4th and 5th. Semifinals, July 8th and 9th. Final, July 13th. Book it.
Nice. There you have it, Wonger. Good.
Yeah.
Let's rip through the groups here very quickly.
Yeah.
I don't want to spend too much time on each one, obviously. Group A, Brazil's Palmeiras, Porto of Portugal. Al Ali, one of the ones I'm curious about, of Egypt. And Inter Miami, if any team's deserving of their spot, they graft.
That's a tough group.
It's a really tough group, actually. Well, give me some predictions here. Let's go with that. Okay, I'll start. Porto's going through in first place, and I think they're going to be followed by Palmeiras because the Brazilians are they might not be compared to the European teams, but Palmeiras is top. They're a great team.
I would agree with that.
And I think also motivated to do well at this tournament. Like, again, a team, I don't watch very much South American football, but reading about them and, rival clubs taunt them about never winning the Intercontinental title. So here's an opportunity right in front of them in a tough group, albeit, but maybe motivated to do well.
And Miami have played better football, and they're not playing that well right at the moment either.
All year, really. They haven't played well in domestic.
Yeah, concede a lot of goals.
They do, yeah. And maybe we're dismissing Al Ali too much now, perhaps.
True.
It's a tough group, though. I think that's a good way to sum up Group A.
Not as tough, I don't think. Group B could be the top group. Group B has PSG, who just might be the best team in the world right now, as we saw. 3 weeks ago now, 2 weeks ago now. Atletico Madrid, Botafogo of Brazil, and the Sounders of MLS Dubs. That's a great group, but really two just stand out way above the rest, don't they?
Well, I think we're talking about the double touch rule. So you think about who comes to mind for me is Julian Alvarez, right?
Ooh.
Remember that in the Champions League? So the rule almost seems to be reacting to that, and then all of the uproar afterwards. But I mean, watching them play and the way that their coach, Simeone, the way that they defend, pretty impressive. I don't know much about, how do you say it? Botafogo?
Botafogo?
Mm-hmm. But I mean, PSG, what a year they've had. Winning the Champions League, just kind of the cherry on top of the sundae. So yeah, I will eat my words. Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
The favorite. We'll look at the
Group A is the hardest group except Group B's.
The hardest group except for Group B.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well, Group C is pretty tough too, actually.
It is. Except for Auckland, probably.
Yeah.
But I'm just guessing.
Bayern Munich, Auckland, Boca Juniors, and Benfica. So the Auckland story is simply they qualified from Oceania. They're not fully professional. There are players on that team that have, or most players have other jobs and had difficulty, some of them being released for this tournament.
That's fun.
I love it.
They're already my favorite team. I'm rooting for them.
Just stay in the games.
Yeah. I mean, let's face it, if they wanted to have like a true, like the 32 largest clubs in the world, the strongest clubs in the world, they'd be from South America and Europe, 28 of them, you know what I mean? And this also gives that opportunity and a little magic to the tournament, I suppose. I like it. I've never thought I would be watching teams like this play.
Imagine though, if they go, sorry, Dubs, if they even go through very quickly, even to the knockout phase, just say, I mean, it's unlikely, but just say they managed it somehow. Some of these guys are regular dudes. Can you imagine the bonuses? I hope they get the money. I know some of the money's going like to the leagues themselves. It's not just all to the clubs, which is good. You should grow the grassroots level. But I mean, this could change some of these players' lives.
Yeah.
No kidding.
Like the women's game back in the day when we were merely compensated for taking part in various tournaments, right? And we had to have a job, like a lot of these guys, like not fully professional. So it's almost a hobby, it's a passion, and this is kind of living out a dream. And then you're able to, with a little bit of success and a lot of luck, maybe, cash in on some of that money that's available. But I rudely interrupted you earlier, Sharman, because I let the Group A discussion pass me by, and I didn't even mention Stefan Eustachio for Porto. So Group A, difficult, yes, but automatically they're rooting for Porto.
Yes, it's when you haven't got your team in the tournament, it's almost fun to choose one, isn't it? We're all choosing Auckland, but I think it has to be Stefan Eustachio in Porto, isn't it?
How much will Eustachio actually play in the Club World Cup?
Well, I mean, you got lots of minutes this year in the Primera.
Well, it's not even so much that. It's like what's going on with Canada. There's some overlap here, right? With the Gold Cup?
I think the hope is that Porto crash out early and he gets
released into Canada's national team. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sharman, so put the odds up.
I didn't realize that. He's actually playing for Porto as opposed to...
But from the club perspective, like after they have a hugely disappointing year, they finished behind Benfica and Sporting. This is a chance of redemption for them, right? To make something out of their season. With this tacked on the end of it. So, like, does his playing time go up or down with everything that's on the table for club and for country?
Yeah, we shall see.
Well,
just the one Canadian, right?
Yeah. Is he the only one?
Yeah,
because Davies is hurt. Right.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so just looking quickly here at the before we get to the next group, PSG are favorites, plus 430, tied with Real Madrid. City's at plus 500, Bayern plus 750. Let's see what Auckland. Actually, Auckland. Okay, there's a bunch of teams at plus 43,000. Wow, Tunisia
to win it all.
Mamelodi Sundowns, Auckland and Wydad Athletic. Anyway, back to
my dad. That's what your daughter says to you.
My
dad.
Group D is Flamengo of Brazil, Tunis of Tunisia, Chelsea, and LAFC. That's an interesting one, isn't it? Where's the pressure? Pressure's obviously on Chelsea, but they're feeling pressure to do well in this tournament, I think, as well. They just signed Liam Delap as well, very quietly.
Delap, that was in that window,
Porthole.
Traitor.
Porthole.
It was always going to happen. Good for him.
Group E sees River Plate, legendary River Plate of Argentina, Urawa Red Diamonds, Monterrey of Mexico, and Inter Milan, who I kind of hope Inter Milan do well. They got a new coach. It didn't take long, did it, for Simone to jet to the Middle East? Where's he gone again? Al Hilal.
Well, he's in this tournament, is he not?
He is, yeah. Oh, yes, Al Hilal. Yes, he could be playing.
Yeah,
they could meet against Inter Milan at some point. How weird would that be?
Yeah, that's quite a group too. Just from you've got River Plate, just unbelievably well supported in Argentina. Inter, of course, Monterrey, and then you got South Koreans. Could be a different style of play from a 4 different teams from different continents, right? Pretty cool.
Moving Group F, Fluminense, Borussia Dortmund, Ulsan of Korea, and Mamelodi Sundowns. They just boss South African football.
Oh, Gordon Lightfoot's favorite.
We went
Great
to
names, Urwell Red Diamonds, and then what's the one that you just read off?
Mamelodi Sundowns. That's a great name.
Love it.
Yeah.
Terrific.
we went to a Kaiser Chief Sundowns game when we were in South Africa.
Oh, really? That'd be intense.
It was a year before the World Cup, and the ticket problems they had, everybody was losing their minds. People had double tickets for this game. It was just the security problems were just insane. And everybody saw us walking around with a camera, and we're like, "You got to get this out there. This is a disaster." And it was a disaster. I felt for them, but they got their shit together before 2010.
I was reading about this for Fluminense, that Fabio, their goalkeeper, not the one from the romance fiction, he's 44 years old, and he's closing in on the world record for most professional games played. Peter Shilton has the record at 1,390 official matches, and Fabio's at 1,374 and counting.
Wow.
It's an interesting piece of trivia, hey?
It is
44?
Yeah.
Good for him.
I would love it if he had like a long mane of luscious blonde hair.
Yeah.
Probably, chances are he looks more like me than...
Yeah, at 44, you're right.
No, there's no bald Fabios, Craig. None.
That's true.
I got
Fabio Cannavaro. Of course, there is Fabio Cannavaro.
Oh, yeah.
He was one of the.
Come on, can we talk about our favorite Fabio moment?
Amazing.
Our favorite Fabio moment when he's on the roller coaster
Yeah,
and the seagull
the
hits him in the head and he's bleeding.
Stupid
And he
Fabio.
gets off and there's like blood everywhere. And I'm like, this is what it takes. This is what karma is.
The football metaphor for being on a roller coaster and getting hit or killing a bird as it smacks you in the face and coming off all bloodied and battered is maybe like absolutely scuffing a penalty or an own goal. That's what it is. It's an own goal.
Is the roller coaster own goal?
Mm-hmm.
Well, did the seagull die?
I don't know.
Surely.
Probably.
Look at
But he
size
did
of that
well.
mug.
I'm just saying, if he did die, that he gave up his life for the better good, for the greater good.
Better good.
Group G. Too bad Brighton's not playing because it'd be a brilliant segue, wouldn't it? From Seagulls to Brighton.
Oh, yeah.
G, but they're not, so it's completely pointless. Group G, Man City. Remember them? With Rodri's back. Wydad, Alain. It seems to be there should be a joke with that name as well. Don't know what it is yet. And Juventus. Again, interesting. Wydad, they're Moroccan, right? Yeah, Moroccan.
Yeah, out of Casablanca.
Oh, cool.
Oh,
Play it again, Sam.
Oh, God, we're so old, Wonger.
I am. And I've never seen the movie.
Hey, have you
Never
not
seen the movie, no.
You know, I don't know if I have actually, but I've seen that scene a million times.
Yeah.
Who hasn't? Play it again, Sham.
Yeah.
Anyway, Alain from the UAE. Any thoughts on this group? Can Man City win this tournament? Can they bounce back? Or does the game owe Pep? Does Pep owe the game?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh, you think so?
What, to win this tournament?
Oh, I thought you were saying, or does the game owe him anything? That's what I was saying.
Oh, no. Well, you know what? The way his team plays his style of play, brilliant. But I think a lot of clubs and teams try to play that style of play, and they're not good at it.
And
but it's seen as like anti-football if you don't do it a little bit, isn't it, Dubs?
Yeah. Well, I was going to say 4 new signings, right, for Pep City. So, like, this tournament is also a way to give those players meaningful minutes, see how they fit into the system, see any partnerships that develop as you look ahead to the next season in England.
No Jack Grealish, though, left behind. He's done. There'd be a lineup for his signing, wouldn't there?
Mm-hmm.
You would think.
Mm-hmm.
He's still got it.
Where's that court case, by the way, for the 1,000 charges they've got?
115?
119, I think.
119 now?
I don't know.
Honestly, I don't see anything happening significantly.
No. They have not got Nick Riviero as their manager. their lawyer.
Dr.
Was he
Nick
a doctor?
Riviera?
Oh, was a doctor. Who was the lawyer? Lionel Hutz.
Lionel Hutz, yes.
Lionel Hutz is not their lawyer. I blew that one, didn't I?
But they're the defending champs, City, right? We can't forget. Like, this is expanded, but they won it in 23, right?
Yep, they did. They did. Group H, Real Madrid with Xabi Alonso now at the helm. Al Hilal. Speaking of Al Hilal, there's some.
There they are.
Pachuca, who we know, of course, from the CONCACAF Champions Cup, and Red Bull Salzburg. Good battle for second place in that group, you think, wouldn't there?
Yeah, probably. Not sure
Yeah.
how you see that going. I don't know much about Pachuca. I mean, we do see some Liga MX teams, but not super familiar with them.
We'll see how the top of the Saudi Arabian league looks compared up against the rest.
But even seeing, it's interesting to me, the Liga MX, how they will do, considering they just won the CONCACAF. I mean, to be perfectly honest, I'm cheering for CONCACAF teams, and then secondly, I'll be cheering for Copa, like South American teams, because I think, I think to what Dubs was playing about that, hey, you're in the spotlight. Here's some professionals who are going to get to be seen in the spotlight on a worldwide stage, and I think that's going to add to the. I think that's going to be tremendous for the individual play. Not sure about the rest, but you're going to have some great plays in this.
Well, you can join us throughout the tournament. Please check out our social feeds. We'll have a lot of videos up, including highlights. We'll have Craig and Dubs and Jimmy breaking down plays. We're going to have a daily. It will be a mini podcast. We're 35 minutes into this mini podcast. They will be shorter. But just kind of wrap up the previous day's action, a brief look ahead to what's on tap that day as well, and all the stories therein. So it should be a lot of fun, and you can watch all of the FIFA Club World Cup free on DAZN. Sign up now so you don't miss any of the action. Free, like absolutely free. It's not like get a membership and then like you can just sign up and watch it. Anyone can. So give it a try. I think the word for me is curious. I'm curious about this tournament. I've got a feeling that once they get going, these games, and the narratives start writing themselves, we're going to quite enjoy it for the football, just purely for the football.
Well, you are going to be multi-club curious, is what you are.
I think there's a bar where you can go.
Yeah, there is. There's definitely a
Sounds
bar.
like Wonger.
What's the flag for that?
Hashtag Steve Chang.
Yeah.
Back to the Adam
Multi-curious. Stay curious, everybody.
Well, that's Footy Prime in our Club World Cup special. As you can tell, we don't know much about most of these teams, and we're not going to sit here and pretend that we do, unlike a lot of people. But we'll just enjoy the tournament and we'll just chat about it. That's kind of what we'll be doing throughout the tournaments, and maybe we'll learn about some players. Come on, Auckland City FC.
Yes.
Looking forward to that one.
Yeah,
right,
I want an accountant. I want an accountant to score either a goal or an assist, right?
Yeah.
But he has the best story to tell everyone on his way back. 34-year-old accountant.
It's Footy Prime. It's Club World Cup. Until next time, bye.